Welcome to MOVI-C Cabinet and Decentralized VFDs 201. This is session 11 using the CBG21A Keypad. This is our first decentralized lab, and we're going to start it in a rather unusual way. We're not going to be using MOVI-Suite at the beginning. Instead, we're going to work with our VFD entirely using the CBG21A Keypad. This will give you an alternative picture of how it's possible to engineer a VFD without MOVI-Suite. However, at the very end of the lab, we are going to use the keypad as an engineering interface to our computers and use MOVI-Suite as well. So, interesting things to look at. Let's get started. Just a reminder, this is the demo unit we're going to be using. I've got a MOVI-Mod Flexible here, and you can see it's got a CBG21A keypad. You'll see that close up when I do the lab. We also have a motor with a MOVI-Link DDI encoder. It's a CM3C motor. So, let's talk about the keypad. I want to give you a quick overview of the keypad before I turn you loose on the lab. If you've used one of our older keypads with our B generation technology, I think you're going to find the new keypad a pleasant surprise. It is much more intuitive, and it's full color. I don't have to explain a whole lot because it works pretty much like any similar controller that you've ever used before, like a TV remote control, for example. But I do want to go over a few of the controls just to get you oriented. Probably the one thing that might be a little confusing at first are these four buttons here, which don't have labels on them. They are called function buttons, and their function changes depending what screen you're on. How do you know what a button does? Just look at the screen right above it. In this case, this particular screen only activates two of the buttons, the two on the right side, and you can see the function symbols right above them. So these will change as you navigate to different screens. Now the navigation pad works exactly as you'd expect it to. You have your four direction arrows, and then you have the OK button that functions kind of like an enter key. The red and green stop and run buttons I think are self-evident. They're used in manual mode for operating the VFD and running the motor. The I button is an info or help button. If you press it on certain screens, you'll get help information. Let's talk about how you navigate the keypad. When you first power it up, in most cases, it will default to what's called the home screen or the status screen. This can be reconfigured, but by default, it will show an actual picture of your motor and also indicate how much current it's pulling and at what speed it's operating. This is kind of a handy status screen. The keypad will go back to this if it's been sitting idle for a period of time, and that can be handy because you can use it as sort of a quick monitoring tool. To access the main menu, you press the third function button, which has that symbol of four little squares on it. That will take you to the main menu. And just so you know, the escape function always exits what you're doing or backs up. If you press main menu, you will find yourself on the main menu. Each item on the menu is a tile, and you navigate to it using the navigation pad, and you select it by pressing the OK button. Let me call your attention in the upper right corner. There is a status display that will tell you what your motor is doing. It will tell you the FCB the VFD is currently in, or if the VFD is faulted, you will see a fault indication. You can also tell if the motor is running or stopped. It'll have those kind of play and pause controls there. All right, now the menu itself, I'm going to go through the 8 principal tiles. There are some others that you can scroll down to, but they are of lesser importance. These are the ones you'll use most of the time. The first takes you back to that home or status screen. The little hand takes you to manual mode. The yellow shield to screens connected with configuring functional safety. The tile that looks sort of like an EKG display goes to the diagnostic screens. This tile takes you to the parameter tree where you can configure the VFD, and you have access to all the parameters through the keypad. The little disk icon allows you to run backups or do restorations from the keypad. The keypad has enough memory to hold multiple backups. It's very handy for that. The little wrench tile is used for starting up motors, commissioning them, and the little graph here is used for tuning and optimizing the motor. So I think it's time to do a lab. The best way to get comfortable with the keypad is just to use it. So let's go ahead and go to our lab manual and open up to lab number 6 using the CBG21A keypad. Go ahead and pause the video and do the lab. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed using the keypad if you were doing the actual lab. If not, you're going to see me using the keypad, so let's go ahead and do our lab walkthrough. All right, we're ready to do our keypad lab. You can see I've connected up a keypad to my decentralized demo unit and I've turned it on. And what I notice right away, instead of going to the status screen, we have a fault. Well, I did this intentionally because I wanted you to see how the keypad handles faults. This is a limit switch fault. I just don't have my limit switch turned on, which is why the fault appeared. Let's see what information we get when we have a fault when we're using our keypad. Notice we get the fault and subfault code in very big digits right on the front, but if you look closely, you'll see that there are 3 tabs there. I'm going to move among these. And you can see this gives us a text message, which is a bit more descriptive about what's wrong. And I go to the 3rd tab and it gives a few troubleshooting solutions. So actually you get a lot of information with the keypad when you have a fault. However, at the moment we're just going to ignore that fault, so I'm going to hit the escape function button. You can tell it's the escape because of the text right above the 4th button here. And that now goes to my status screen. My motor, of course, isn't doing anything at the moment, so everything is 0. Notice, though, in the upper right corner, you can see a red X, and you can see the fault and subfault code right there. So that fault code is always on display. All right, we're going to begin by factory resetting our VFD and commissioning it using our keypad. So we need to go to the main menu. What I'm going to do is hit escape again, and that's going to take us to our main menu. And then I'm going to go down to the parameter tree right here, and I'm going to hit the OK button. And I'm going to select parameter tree. And I'm going to select device properties. This should look familiar. It's very much like what you see in MOVI-C. And I'm going to go to basic settings and reset device parameters. And I have to pick reset device parameters again and delivery state. And I'm going to say, yes, I really want to do this. So this is going to reset my VFD. And there we go. We've reset successfully. So I'm going to go ahead and press OK. Now we still have that fault up there, so let's get rid of it. Notice our 3rd function button has a little X there. That indicates that that's the fault handling button, so I'm going to press that. And we're back to our fault screen. And notice my 1st function button says reset. So I'm going to try to clear that fault by pressing reset. And in fact, that succeeded. Everything's fine. Notice the fault code has gone away from the upper corner. We now have a motor pause symbol, and FCB14 is what's showing as in control at the moment. All right, so we're in good shape. Now let's go back to the main menu. We're going to press the main menu function button, the 3rd one here, and we're going to pick the wrench, and we're going to get ready to do our startup. Now I have a MOVI-Link DDI motor attached to my VFD, which means I shouldn't have to do a whole lot because MOVI-Link DDI pretty much does everything automatically. All I'm going to do is go through and confirm that everything that comes back from the electronic label is accurate. I'm going to pop up a picture of my physical nameplate right here. You can see what kind of motor I have, and we're just going to make sure that our electronic label agrees with it as we go along. I'm going to be pressing the forward arrow to move through each choice, and if it's okay, I'm just going to keep going. So we're doing drivetrain 1. We're doing MOVI-Link DDI. Our motor is indeed a CM3C63S, so that's good. Our speed class is 4,500 RPM, and our torque value is fine. This is not a motor with a fan, and we don't have a ventilator, so that's okay. Our system voltage, that is fine. This is not the line voltage, by the way, it's the internal voltage of the motor. This is the brake we have installed. And our brake is not controlled by MOVI-Link DDI, it's controlled by a high voltage connection, so that is fine. Our nominal brake torque is correct. Our brake voltage is fine. We aren't doing anything with safety here, so we'll just leave this alone. We have standard brake control. We have a PK temperature sensor. We're not running multiple motors. And we have a MOVI-Link DDI encoder, which is an AZ2Z. So that is correct. It counts in the normal direction. We don't have any kind of ratio added to it. We're going to use CFC control mode. In fact, that's the only one we really can use with the servo motor with an encoder, so we're going to just OK that. But I am going to increase the PWM frequency from 8 kilohertz to 16 because I want to protect my ears. 8 is a little shrill. And the sample rate is fine. We're not using hoist pretension. We don't need to reverse the direction of rotation. And we're going to set our inertia just to 1 times the motor inertia. We'll be measuring it later, so this is an OK value. And we're finally ready to confirm the startup, so I'm going to click OK to do it. All right, so that's our startup complete. Now we need to do something else. We need to check our application limits. So we're going to go back to the parameter tree right here. And we're going to go to parameter tree and go to functions. And we're going to go to monitoring functions. And we're going to pick limit values. And I'm going to check my application limits. I'm going to check my speed positive. It's set to the motor's nominal value. That is fine, so we'll just go ahead and keep that. So I'll back up here. We'll check the counterclockwise speed. That's okay. We'll check our acceleration limit. Now it's set to 10,000 RPM per second. That is fine. However, our lab manual says we should set it to double the motor's nominal speed, so that would be 9,000 RPM per second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to move over to the leftmost digit and pick down to turn it to 0. I'm going to go to the new leftmost digit and press up till we get 9,000. So there we go, and I hit OK. And I'll back up, and I'm going to do the same for deceleration. Notice this is how we deal with digits, 1 digit at a time. We always hit OK when we're done, and we hit escape. All right, we need to set one other thing. We need to set the emergency stop. I'm going to go down to limits here, and I'm going to pick emergency stop deceleration. And I'm going to just leave this on 10,000 RPM per second because that's a little faster than the application stop, and usually we want the emergency stop to be a bit quicker. That's okay, so I'll just hit escape and main menu to go back to my menu. Okay, well we're now ready to test our motor to see if it runs. We're going to go into manual mode to do this. Remember, we do not have a controller inhibit signal that we have to turn on our control box. Our VFD is ready to run as it stands. So I'm going to go up and select manual mode. And I'm going to pick speed controlled manual mode. And it says, do you want to go into manual mode? And I'll say sure. So we go into it. Now I need to set a speed, so I'm going to arrow down into the speed box and hit OK. And I'm going to move over and add some digits here and set it to our motor's maximum speed of 4,500 RPM. And I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm going to click Run. And there we go, we're running. We can reverse direction by clicking right here, clockwise direction of rotation. We can change that to counterclockwise. Notice it decelerates and reaccelerates. We can do that again. And now we can come to a stop. I think our motor works. Let's hit escape, exit manual mode, and we do have to OK that. And that's fine. We'll now go back to the main menu. All right, let's do a backup of our VFD using our keypad. Making a backup is super simple. You just go to the little disk icon and you say you want to make a copy of the inverter into the keypad's memory. Now we have to give it a file name, and you can see there's a bunch of backups already in here, but that's okay. We can create a brand new one. We just click this button right here with the little plus, and it creates a brand new file name, and we select that and say we're going to use it, and then press the OK button to start the backup. And you can see it's chugging away. It takes a few seconds, but it's running our backup, copying the VFD's contents into the keypad. And we're now done. So we'll hit escape here and escape again. And there we go. Okay, now let's say that something went wrong with our VFD and we have to restore it from the keypad. How do we do that? Well, we go to the same place and we just pick keypad to inverter. And we pick the right file, so this is the one we want right here. So we're going to select it, and it warns us that it's about to overwrite what's in the VFD with the backup, and we say that is fine. And then it says OK, hit OK to start. So there we go, it's now copying from the keypad's memory into the VFD. And there it is finished, and we can now hit escape, go back to our main menu. And that's all there is to it. All right, so the keypad is a very handy tool for making backups and doing restorations. I will show you in just a few minutes how you can go into the keypad with a PC and download that backup you just made if you want to archive it somewhere for safety. But I want to show you one other tool first. I want to show you the diagnostic tool, which is this menu here. And we're going to use it to monitor our I/O signals. So if we pick digital inputs and outputs, notice it's showing our DIs, and it's showing controller inhibit DI00 on. It will always be on because there is no signal that you can control. But I'm going to flip some switches on my control box, and we're going to check that they work. So I'm going to turn DI1 on, 2, and 3, and 4, and those definitely work. I'll turn them off. So you can use this to check out your IOs. We'll go back to our main menu. Now the last thing we're going to do is plug in a USB cable between our keypad's USB mini port and our PC. And we're going to go in and use that to access the memory so we can remove those backups we made. And also we're going to use it as an engineering port. So I've got to plug in a cable, and then we'll go ahead and do that. All right, I've plugged my cable in and I've connected it up to my PC, and you notice that my keypad display is automatically changed to gateway mode. It's saying, do I want to use the keypad as an engineering interface? If I do, I've got to click OK to start it up. So I'm going to go ahead and press start there. And now it's connected up with my computer. So let's head over to my computer now. And the first thing I'm going to do is access the keypad's memory to show you where the backups are kept. To do this, I just navigate to an Explorer window in my computer. And you notice my keypad is actually a storage device, just like a memory stick. So if I double click this, I see we have a volume called MTP volume. I open that, and I have a folder called MOVI-C Exchange. And in here are my backups. So these .mcex files are backup files. I can just copy these anywhere I like and archive them. And if I want to restore a backup from an archive, I just have to copy it into this folder, put the keypad on the right VFD and dump it into there, and I can do an instant restore. So that's kind of handy. However, what we want to do now that I've shown you that is go into MOVI-Suite, and I'm going to use the keypad as an engineering adapter to finish commissioning my VFD and get it ready for our next lab. So I need to start up MOVI-Suite. And I'm going to do a network scan as usual. So I'll pick from network scan, and I'll pick USB and turn the scan switch on. And there's my keypad acting as a USB adapter. So I'll just click apply and start scan. And it found a device, the VFD. I'll click apply and OK. And yes, I'm going to load my settings into my MOVI-Suite project. And there we go. Now, according to our instructions, I need to rename my access 2, and it's already access 2, probably from the last person who did a lab on this machine. But just a reminder, to do that, you would right-click on the top part of the VFD circle, pick Rename, pick your name, and click the checkbox. Nothing too complex there. Now, we've already commissioned everything. The motor runs fine, but we haven't actually measured its inertia. We're going to go ahead and do this in MOVI-C. We've already done this back in Lab 2, so this shouldn't be too complicated to you. You should know how this is done. We just go to Drivetrain and we pick Optimization. And we're going to click Determine the Load Moment of Inertia and open Manual Mode. And we need to activate it. Notice we're in Load Cycling Absolute automatically. I'm going to set position 2 to 50 revolutions. Position 1 at 0 is fine. I'm going to pick my maximum speed, 4,500 RPM. And I need to click my gear symbol here to open my extra controls. I need to reference my drive by clicking Start Reference Travel. And I need to set my acceleration slider all the way to the top. And we're ready to go, so I'll click play. And it's taking measurements. The motor's cycling back and forth. And as soon as this button turns green and these bars level off, I've got a good measurement, so we look good already. I'll click End Measurement and Save Value to Device. I'll stop my VFD cycling. I'll shut down Manual Mode. Close it. And we're good there. And I'll leave my stiffness of the control system at 1. I am going to set my backlash slider to 100% because I have no backlash. And the last thing I need to do is save my project, so I'm going to click the disk icon and I'm going to call this Lab 6-7. There we go, project saved. And that's the end of our lab. And that is the end of session 11. Hope you found it instructive and now understand how the keypad can be used as an alternative to MOVI-C, or in some cases as an adjunct to it. It's a great tool. In our next session, we're going to tackle something a little heavier. We're going to look at a diagnostic tool built into the VFD called the scope. I'm actually going to split this session into 2 separate ones to make it a little more digestible. I recommend you have a cup of coffee before heading into the next session. I'll see you next time.